So there was something that I noticed in Stellarium over the last couple of days, and I haven't heard any other watchmen talking about it or discussing it. So I thought I'd make this quick video and show you guys. So what we're looking at here is we'll be looking at Mercury, and we're in the constellation of Pisces here. And Pisces has these two fish, and they appear to be jumping out of the water or out of the sea. And this one fish on the left kind of jumps straight up, and then you can see this sort of pictorial symbolism. It then becomes the constellation of Andromeda, which is a woman breaking the chains, and then it becomes Cassiopeia, which is a woman sitting pretty, looking at herself in the mirror, next to Cepheus, which is the king who's got a speared lizard. So the metaphor there is pretty obvious. This is a rapture of the bride. And then you've got this other fish who is also appears to be diving out of the sea, but looks to be going right back into the sea, so that seems to represent the left behind. Anyway, so what I'm showing here is Mercury, and this planet does retrograde movement, okay? And retrograde movement, as a reminder, is normally planets go across the sky from right to left, and occasionally they'll go backwards, or it appears like they go backwards, but from our perspective, they just go. I'll just keep it simple. They'll just say they go backwards, and they'll do that for like, I don't know, a few weeks, and then they'll start to, and then they'll do another U-turn and resume their original direction of movement. And that's what Mercury's doing here. So it does a retrograde movement. So I just have it set to any time here, March 15th. Okay, and Mercury is marked by this red reticule. And I'm going to move forward by days and watch how Mercury does this retrograde movement, but watch like how it touches this line here perfectly. So it just taps that line like perfectly, and then it does another U-turn around the other line, and then it resumes its normal direction of movement. So I just thought that was I was really shocked that nobody's mentioned that, because I mean, Mercury is the messenger planet, and for it to retrograde like that, just tapping that line, which has really only one meaning that I'm aware of, which is the rapture, tapping it so precisely like that. I'll just show it again. Boom, tap, and then it wraps around the other cord there, and then resumes its movement. Really amazing. And let's look at the dates here. So it taps it on April 1st, okay? So April Fool's Day. And then it intersects the other chord on April 17th. So you got your like 417 there. And then it resumes its movement, and it crosses that original line again on 5/14, okay? Which is Israel's birthday. And yeah, that's it. That's pretty amazing to me. So I think the symbolism is pretty clear. That's where, it's referring to the rapture. It probably has some other meaning there too, but I'm always rapture focused. So that's pretty much all I see. So I'll show that one more time, and then I'm going to go on to something else. So tap the line, circle around, wrap around this other chord, and then resume its normal direction of movement, hitting that line again on May 14th. So right there, May 14th. Let me just close this. So what I'm looking at now in terms of sort of moderately high watch day is April 4th, and the reason is, so when I discovered the 276 sign, originally we were calling it the Malta sign, and the reason is because in Acts 27 they first mentioned that 276 souls right when they're running the ship aground on Malta. And recently I was thinking maybe we're overthinking the mapping of that narrative to the calendar, and it's as simple as this. Maybe it's like when they run the ship aground like that on that day, that corresponds to the date of the 276 sign, which was, if you recall, December 27th to 28th of just a few months ago. Now, for anybody who doesn't know what that sign was, just go to my channel and look at You can look at Happy Sukkot, the video titled Happy Sukkot. I have a pretty good definition there. Or Happy Hanukkah, probably. I think I show it there in the beginning as well. And these other ones titled 276 sign also show it, but I think like the information is better in the newer videos. So, and thankfully you don't have to watch the whole video. I mean, the sign is described usually in like the first 10, 15 minutes, and then I move on to other stuff. So just check those out if you don't know what the 276 sign is. So anyway, getting back to this, if we just simply say, okay, let's map the Axe ship narrative starting at the point where they are crashing onto Malta, or running the ship aground onto Malta, and that being like that being December 27th going to the 28th. In other words, that being the date of the 276 sign, and then just sort of using that mapping, see where at what point do they cross the Strait of Messina on the calendar. Okay, so 9/10 Enochian, in other words, Kislev 10 was the actual date of the 276 sign. So, by the way, and if you don't know what this Enochian calendar I'm using is, I'm not sure which one. I guess you can. I think it's described in these videos too, but you'll have to watch a little bit further into the videos to understand that Enochian calendar. It's definitely not the official Jewish Kislev 10. Okay, I'll just say that much. It's a totally different calendar. It's I think a month off from the Jewish one, or not exactly, but like around that much time, at least a month off. So anyway, getting back to this. So like it's Kislev 10 Enochian was the date of that 276 sign. And so let's just map it like that. So if that's, so let's say like they crash the ship on Malta on that date, and then they lodge with Publius for 3 days, and then it says after 3 months they arrive in Syracuse. So that takes you from so the lodging with Publius is like Kislev 11, 12, and 13, and then the after 3 months you have to go from 9/13 to, or Kislev 13 to 12/13, which is Shabbat 13, and then that would be also the first day of tarrying at Syracuse, and then the second day of tarrying at Syracuse would be Shabbat 14, and the third day would be Shabbat 15, and then you have the 1 day at Regium, which would be Shabbat 16, and then Shabbat 17 they would cross the Strait of Messina. So that basically, I mean, that's the breakdown. A simple way to look at it is Kislev 10 plus 3 months and 7 days, which is interesting because you got the 37 there also being projected, and that's a big God number representing the Trinity. Okay, so what is 12/17, Shabbat 17 Enochian? That's the 350th Enochian day, and that corresponds to April 4th, Gregorian, 4/4. So that's the 44, and 4 means symbolically like the door. So that's a very strong signaling of the door there with that numeric signature. So that's, and technically that would be 4/3 going into 4/4, because the Enochian day is going to start on the sunset of the day prior. So that would be sunset on April 3rd going into the next day, which is April 4th. Now, interestingly, that would be exactly 84 days since Kislev, since January 11th, which, if you remember, that's that big pivot date, which equals Enochian Kislev 24, made famous by the book of Haggai, chapter 2. So that's exactly 84 days since that date. 84 is significant because 84 is the gematria value of Enoch. Enoch, who was the first person raptured, and the number 84 is also part of the 276 sign itself, because 276 is simply 84 degrees away from 360, from the 0 degree point. And then it's also 168 days since its mirror date of 1019, and that goes back to this diagram which we've been developing here through the guidance of the Holy Spirit. And each date here, it has like a mirror date that is equally distant to the central pivot point of Kislev 24, January 11th, on either side. So either before or after that pivot point. And if we're looking at 4/4, April 4th, it would have a pivot date. It would have a mirror date as well. So its mirror date corresponds to October 19th, which is amazing because, as if you've been watching my videos, you know how significant the number 119 is in the overall scheme of things, especially to the book of Acts and the Acts narrative. It's also the menorah binary door number, because if you look at that number in binary, it looks like a door. It actually looks like a door and it looks like a menorah, so we call it the menorah binary door number. And those numbers, 168 and 119, are also both part of the 276 sign, because let me see if I can pull it up real fast. But the 119 was the distance in degrees from the sun, which was at the 276 degrees, and the position of Jupiter at 35 degrees. Okay, and then on the other way around the ecliptic, it was 241 degrees, which equals the value of Zerubbabel in Gematria. Okay, and Zerubbabel is taken in the book of Haggai. And so that's how the 119 manifests in this sign. And then the 168 is simply the difference in degrees between the sun and the moon. The sun at 276 degrees and the moon 108 degrees during that sign. There was 168 degrees between them on the short side of the ecliptic. And so that's how the 168 days here manifest in that sign as well. So these numbers here that are manifesting, I guess you could say, in significant date alignments of April 4th, 119, 168, 84, they also just happen to be significant numbers to the sign itself, which I thought was noteworthy. And the other thing is that another nice hint is that 1217 Gregorian, in other words, December 17th, was the 241st Enochian day of the year. Okay, and that's also a leaf on the diagram, on our existing diagram. So that was right here. It says 1216, but this is an Enochian day, so it's really 1216 going into the 17th. And that would be the 241st day of the year, which again is a reference to Zerubbabel, because Zerubbabel equals 241 in Gematria, in Hebrew Gematria. So that is another nice little clue or a hint from the diagram itself. Now, some interesting alignments of April 4th. So 4/4, April 4th, is 4 days before the eclipse on April 8th. It's exactly 3 weeks after Pi Day, in other words, March 14th, which was something we were looking at. 4/4 is 4 weeks and 4 days after the Enochian Feast of Trees on Shevat 26. It was another day we were looking at. 4/4 is exactly 69 days after the completion of the temple dedication on January 26th. And 69, of course, refers to heaven. 4/4 is exactly 84 days since January 11th, aka Kislev 24, which we already noted. And then 4/4 is 99 days after 1227, which is the date of the 276 sign. And 99, of course, also refers to rapture. 99 is equal to rapture in simple English, ordinal gematria, and it also, if you look at that number in binary, it also resembles a door. Okay, now 4/4 is exactly 21 weeks, or 3 times 7 weeks, after 11/9 of last year, which, if you recall, that's Enochian Tishri 21, which is mentioned in Haggai chapter 2, verse 1. Interesting alignment there, because that's Haggai 2:1's date, and it's exactly 21 weeks after that. Nice numerical alignment there. Now 4/4 is also 180 days, like 180 degrees, 180 days after the October 7th Hamas attacks on Israel. 4/4 is exactly 6 Gregorian months after 10/14 wedding ring eclipse, the October 14th wedding ring eclipse. And 4/4 is 6 months and 16 days after the September 19th Revelation 12 sign. And 6/16 is 9/19 rotated by 180 degrees. And finally, if you look at the Mercury retrograde movement again, remember that Mercury hits that chord on April 1st, and then it comes back around, loops around the other chord, and then it hits that first chord again on May 14th. And if you look at the duration of time involved there, it first hits the chord on April 1st, and if you include that day, and then it hits the chord the second time on May 14th, that's a total of 44 days. So that's another possible hint to 4/4 or April 4th. So yeah, that's what we're looking at now as a moderately high watch day. So again, the basis here that we're using is to simply start mapping the X27 narrative from the date of the 276 sign at the point where, at the point in Scripture where the 276 souls is actually mentioned. In other words, that part where they're actually running the ship aground. So if you start the mapping from that point, mapping that to the date of the 276 sign, which I think is logical. It's the 276 sign, and that's the point in Scripture where 276 souls are actually mentioned. And then just looking at the durations of time mentioned in Scripture from that point, and then assuming that crossing the Strait of Messina is the point where the rapture actually happens. That's an assumption we've made in the past. That would happen on Shabbat 17, Enochian Shabbat 17, which is Gregorian April 4th. So yeah, just wanted to drop that quick video on you guys. Again, this is just a guess, so we hope and pray. We all know it's pretty close, so keep looking up, and we'll see what happens. Thank you, and God bless.